126 riders that are part of the BMX racing community as a result of the BMX school teams in the Tulsa area. And that is so exciting. You'll hear me talk more about what Carmen Drummond has done for the sport of BMX. But as a result, 126 riders for the fall 2025 BMX racing season, and the way that she has incorporated it into schools, that is 13 high schools that are represented of those BMX teams. These are riders that already existed, not as riders, just as people in the community that have joined onto BMX teams, have joined into tracks. It is given, as the superintendent of Sand Springs made a point of saying, it gives students a place to belong that may not have otherwise had a place to belong. 126 riders, 13 teams, so many schools that are represented in that number. And right now, honestly, the biggest growing pain is loaner bikes at the tracks between Sand Springs, Hardesty. I know that Mays County is working on some, and there are a couple schools in the Oklahoma City area that are working on building school teams as well. So one, if you are interested in growing ridership, then get a hold of Carmen, and you can even reach out through us, and we'll put you in contact with Carmen to see what is going on. If you're interested in growing ridership, if you are interested in being a part of helping these tracks to get loaner bikes, reach out to me as well, because I would love to put you in contact and become a bridge for how to get more bikes to these tracks so that we're not running out on a regular basis. But 126 riders, that is something to be stoked about. BMX Breakthrough is bridging the gap from old school to new school, from tracks to manufacturers, from new riders to their local tracks, and it doesn't stop at racing, but the mission is to connect people with bikes. Join me, Jay Oaks, as I interview key people in the sport and in the industry that are involved in their local circles, in their communities, at their local tracks, and aiming to make a difference on a local level. You'll hear stories, marketing tips, failures, successes, and a way to make a difference in your local BMX community. Let's dive in as we kick off this next episode. That is a wrap on season 2. We are here for episode 52, which is the bookend to the season. And I've been releasing an episode every other week for the last 2 years. And it's hard to believe that we have gotten to the 2-year point on this, but I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for you as listeners. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to have the conversations that I have and be able to meet the people and the experiences and the memories and the moments and be able to talk about a sport that I believe is absolutely phenomenal and is next level and is so unique in so many ways. And I'm grateful to you as listeners. I'm so grateful to the guests. You'll probably hear me say that time and time again, but I am really thankful for this opportunity. And so there's been 25 episodes since the last time I did a season 1 wrap up, and I'm under no delusion that everybody listens to every single episode, and that's completely fine. We all have things to do. We have schedules, we have lives, we have kids, we have commitments, and so I have no expectation that everybody's listening to every single episode, but the goal of the wrap-ups is to give you a brief snapshot of what it is to each episode that was a big piece to me, a big component, something that stood out in a really major way, and to be able to say, this is what I love from 37, and this is what I love from 42, and to be able to go through and tell you about those things, and then maybe you go, I need to listen to that episode. That's one that I want to hear. So again, I'm thankful. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. I'm going to dive in, and actually, before I do that, I want to say a special shout out to Donnie Robinson. Donnie Robinson was episode number 1, and if you haven't listened to his episode, go back and listen. He talks all about BMX League. There's also an episode with Mike Carruth where he talks about League as well. But Donnie was the first person to say, absolutely, I will be on your show. I will do this. There were a few people that kind of wanted to see how it went, see if I was going to follow through on it, see if it was going to get any traction. And Donnie was one of the people that just said, I'm down. Let's talk about BMX. Let's talk about League. And so supportive, so awesome. And so Donnie, thank you so much for your early support. Definitely appreciate that, and probably would not be where we are without you. So anyway, I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to jump around a little bit on the season 2 episodes, give you a snapshot, and we are going to start right at episode 46 with Carmen Drummond. Now, this is one of the things that I am the most fired up about right now. Carmen Drummond has found a way to get BMX into school districts and to make it a school sport. This has been tried in the past, and there wasn't a whole lot of success around it. I don't think it's really been done for 35, 40 years, but the way that Carmen has approached it is different than it has ever been approached in the past, from what I understand. She has gone to the schools and she has said, this costs you nothing. This is going to cost no time, no money, no effort, no resources, no energy, no staffing. This is not going to take anything from you unless your people want to contribute, unless somebody that you have wants to contribute and wants to be a part of that. The number of riders in the Tulsa area that have joined BMX as a result is absolutely phenomenal. If you are interested in starting a BMX league at your kid's school, this is something you need to talk to her about. I am in the process of doing this, and we've got 3 kids from our school that are on board. She has had an opportunity to give kids a place to belong, and that's one of the things that the superintendent of Sand Springs said, is that it gives students a place to belong that may not have otherwise had a place to belong. And BMX did exactly that, which is absolutely phenomenal. So if you need to talk to Carmen, you can reach out to us. You can also get a hold of her through the website that she has in episode 46's description. So episode 46, Carmen Drummond, listen to that one. Another episode is episode 34 with Mike Miller. Now, Mike Miller has been a favorite of mine since I met him in Yucaipa, and you'll hear about that in the episode. He's been an announcer at Dirty Fest. He's been an announcer at Frogtown. He has been an announcer at Yucaipa for years. Loves giving back to his community. Loves being a part of what these kids are doing. Loves being a part of watching these kids grow and to be challenged. He made a huge difference in my kids' lives. I don't know if they necessarily remember it, but they definitely created a moment for me, a moment for my family, a moment for the kids. And actually, one of the tracks in Northwest Washington, Columbia Basin, is doing the Moto of the Week as a result of that conversation with Mike Miller. And so, Mike, thank you for what you do for those students, and thank you for contributing in such a major way. Episode 41 with Nick Scott. Nick Scott is a track operator at Bend BMX, absolutely loves the sport of BMX, and loves his community. It's him and a group of friends that are out there digging and running the track and operating. And actually, I will say Olivia Armstrong speaks very highly of the crew that they've got there to run the track. So I'm grateful. Nick was really fun to talk to when we stopped by Bend BMX. We got to know him, got to chat about old school, mid school BMX bikes. And anyway, so it's fun to listen to how he kind of came back into BMX after he took a break from racing, and then how he became the track operator. And I don't think he ever thought he'd be back on a BMX bike, and here he is. So has a way of pulling him back in. All right, episode 29. Guy named Dave Norrie. If you have heard about Flatland, you've probably heard about Dave Norrie. Dave has one of the things that was most phenomenal about that episode is that he's got this program that he does during as summer camps where he teaches kids how to do tricks and learn tricks. And Flatland, I think one of the downsides to Flatland is that it's one of the disciplines of BMX that looks incredibly easy when done correctly, and it looks like it takes no skill until somebody tries to do it. And now I may be speaking out of turn. I can't do Flatland tricks, but I think that it's overlooked because it doesn't have the same wow that aerial tricks are going to have. 360s and turn downs and backflips, or triple backflips now. But what Dave has done to encourage a younger generation of riders and the value that Flatland has to offer and bring to the sport of BMX and to kids that are riding bikes or adults that are riding bikes is so much more, but balance is at the center of that. And if kids, if adults, any riders can master balance, they are going to have a lot better time, a lot easier time, and a lot more successful time on their bike. So Dave, thank you for contributing in that way. That is super cool. And I just think the opportunity that these riders have to go to your summer camps is something that hopefully they'll never forget. Episode 37. A guy named Jamie Stenson at a track called SeaTac BMX. And SeaTac actually just hosted, right before this episode airs, the Gold Cup finals. And Jamie and his crew, the board at SeaTac BMX, have worked so hard to connect with the community and to build that track. It's an open track. They've worked with the city. They are playing a game with the city, not against the city. They're playing a game with the people, not against the people. And I think that is so valuable and something that is overlooked. Is like they'll run into roadblocks, but so many people will say, well, we hit a roadblock. Now we got to fight harder. We got to push harder. And instead, I think one of the really valuable things that SeaTac has done is, instead of saying, oh no, there's a problem, and instead of we have to go through it, we have to work through it. Instead of just like over, around, through, it's let's work through it together, not just bulldoze our way through and find a way to do it on our own. So that's a really phenomenal episode. If you are or know a track operator that is looking for some help in this department, maybe is struggling with conversations with the city and is trying to gain a little bit more traction. An episode number 50 with a guy named Shannon Gillette. And if you've been around BMX for any period of time, if you've been around USA BMX events, you probably have met Shannon, or you may have seen him around. Shannon is a great guy with phenomenal stories. He is next level. He has been working at USA BMX for, I think, 30 years now, and he's been a rider for far more than that. And so a lot of people don't even know that he was a racer and he rode bikes. He still does ride from time to time, but man, this guy loves BMX. And the conversation that I had with him is, what do you love about BMX? And I think it's so great because there are a lot of people that will throw out their opinions and their ideas of complaints about the sport of BMX. And the reality is, we're all here. If you're listening to this, you're probably here in BMX. You're probably in the circles. And there's no point in complaining because it doesn't get us anywhere. It's just a matter of realizing that we're here for a reason. And I loved having that conversation with Shannon because Shannon is in BMX. He's seen stuff. He's been through stuff and conversations with people. But man, the guy loves BMX. And that is a valuable find. And there are a lot of people out there that really love BMX and just realize that, hey, there's differences. There's differences all around the world. There's differences everywhere, absolutely everywhere. But the reality is that we all seem to love this sport for some reason. Let's grab a hold of that and just double down on the good times, on the fun, on the love for the sport. So that was episode 50 with Shannon Gillette. Episode 44, a dude named Scott Town. This guy, oh man, this guy lives BMX. He lives and loves BMX. He is all about the good times. He is a phenomenal photographer. I am so inspired by his photography, his ability to grab photos of himself riding, and his ability to constantly be on a determined mission to just showcase the BMX life. And it's funny, even as he said, as he's gotten older, it's not other bikes that he wants to ride. It's just BMX bikes. And if you know me, you know that I am all about just riding bikes. And I think that some people will move to other bikes, mountain bikes, road bikes, freestyle bikes, whatever the case may be, and have roots in BMX. Scott Town lives his roots in BMX. to this day. He's so much fun to talk to. He's got great stories. He's fun to listen to and is a part of Gray Stoke Magazine. So make sure you check that episode out if you have not already. All right. Episode 28. A guy named Sean Nichols has Rad BMX Builds. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got a phenomenal following. He is a guy worth listening to. He's actually got a BMX podcast out now, following the Rad BMX Build channel. And so he just does an audio-only podcast. And it is great. It's fun to listen to. He's got some different conversations, some different talking points that he has in that podcast. And man, Sean is just a guy that absolutely loves the BMX world and the collection and the build, and he has set up some guys with some amazing builds that he's done, and he has a business out of it. But if you listen to Sean talk, is like there's the business side, but there's also just the love of the sport and the love for finding somebody and getting somebody connected with a bike that they maybe had as a kid or always dreamed of having, and just that bike that they truly want. And so anyway, that's really fun to listen to. It's a great conversation to have. In episode 31, I had another conversation with Bob Osborne. Yes, the legendary Oz. Man, Bob and I have had two long conversations, and I will say a highlight of my year has been at the birth of the freestyle movement, and we were standing there in Laguna, and we were waiting to get in, and we're all in a line. I was standing there and I was talking to Stuart Thompson and talking to Bob Osborne, and my dad was there and some other people were right there. And we were standing there and we were chatting. And Bob didn't see Stuart and I talking, and he goes, "Hey, Stuart, have you met Jay?" And Stuart says, "Yeah, we've had lots of conversations. It's been we've gotten to know each other quite a bit." And then Bob looks at the rest of the guys that were in that conversation, and he goes, "Yeah, Jay and I have actually become pretty good friends. We talk from time to time, and we have some great conversations." I thought, man, what an honor to be revered as friends with Bob Osborne. I'm just so thankful for the guy, so thankful for his time that he took to talk to me and to have an episode with me. I mean, he didn't have to. And his influence on the sport of BMX was absolutely amazing. And the way that episode went, it's over 2 hours long. The way that episode went is we got done with episode 1 that I did with him, which was in the 20s somewhere. And that was episode 23, and got done with that conversation. And I said, "Man, Bob, we talked about some amazing things," because that was 2 hours long as well. We talked about some amazing things. What we didn't do was talk about how BMX action got started. And I wanted people to know about the fact that he was a firefighter, and the fact that he just started this magazine because he wanted to take pictures and, something fun to do. And he goes, "Okay, I'd love to have another episode, but what I want to do is I'd like to talk about the entire history of BMX and where it started." And I said, "Deal, absolutely." And so in my mind, if Bob Osborne wants to talk about something, we're going to talk about what Bob Osborne wants to talk about. So Oz, thank you so much for your time and your investment into what I'm doing. Episode 36 was with Sam Balto. A lot of kids call him Coach Balto. He has taken the bike bus concept. It was not his to begin with, and he says that it was not his from the beginning. Other people had done it. But in the Portland area, he skyrocketed the bike bus ordeal, the bike bus system, where he would ride in a train and just collect people along the way and become a school bus taking kids to school. Parents would join, riders would join, and it would give these kids something to do before they started school. And what he has done is so amazing, just because he's given these kids an outlet. And when we first talked, he said, "Man, I don't have any background in BMX. I don't ride BMX at all." And I said, "That's okay. What I want to talk about is your love of getting kids on bikes, because that is truly something that inspires him." He even got Justin Timberlake to show up to one of his rides. And I just think that is so cool and so much fun to talk about. Okay, an episode with Justin Shepard, episode 42. Do you know Justin Shepard? This guy has the ability to stay behind the scenes and kind of stay hidden quite a bit, but he has done so much for the sport of BMX. He rode for CW. He is very humble. What I've learned is that he is very humble about his beginnings in BMX, and he's very humble about his riding ability. But that guy could ride. And he's got all these photos that his dad took. His dad was a huge advocate for BMX, tells some amazing stories. One of the stories that he told was these kids riding to the BMX track, and his dad pulls up next to him and says, "Where are you guys going?" And they go, "We're going to the track. And then after the race, we'll ride home." And it was, I can't remember the exact number. It was a long number of miles. And his dad was kind of frustrated because the parents weren't involved. I think it was like close to, 5-10 miles. It was a long distance each way. And he was kind of frustrated with the parents because they weren't investing into their kids. And it sounds like Justin's dad was just a super cool guy. Justin has been on the behind the scenes back end of Dirty Fest for a really long time. As long as it's been running, he's been on the back end of the Dirty Knobs podcast to some extent. And he is just an absolutely solid human. Amazing to talk to, fun to catch up with. Justin, I'm really grateful for your investment. Justin has been one of our sponsors since the beginning for the BMX Breakthrough Project, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. An episode 47 with Nick Kuzmich. Now, Nick is a unique one because Nick had no background in BMX. Like, you had Coach Balto, Sam Balto, who had background in bikes and knew of this, but Nick Kuzmich came in and he had started racing a week before we did an episode. But what caught my eye about Nick was that I had followed him. I knew him through the business world, through the entrepreneurial world, and he made a lot of success and headway in Facebook advertising and did phenomenal there. And then he moved away from that, and he's got some other projects going on right now. But Nick's son got into BMX racing. They kind of happened upon it. They got into BMX racing, they went to the track, and they started riding. And then his son kept bugging him. And one of the best things from that episode, well, actually, I think there are two key takeaways from that episode. One, his son kept bugging him and saying, "Dad, will you race with me?" And he goes, "No, the guys up here, they're fast. I'm going to lose." And he kept kind of making that excuse. And what he finally realized was that it wasn't about his son wanting him to win. It was about his son wanting him to participate. And I absolutely love that. His son wanted him to participate in BMX because his son wanted him to be there doing something. And then he talks about something called 18 Summers. And it was a friend of his that wrote a book, published this book, and it's a book that I had heard of before. I'd never read all the way through it, but I had actually absolutely taken the concept of it. And it's the concept of 18 summers. You have 18 summers with your kids. How are you going to spend them? And each time that a summer disappears, you are down one more. At this time, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to our 2025 sponsors who are helping us make the mission of BMX Breakthrough happen, which is to grow the sport at a local level. These sponsors, you can find more about them in the description, and then you can use their coupon codes. And you may be saying, "I don't need a coupon code," but I would ask you, please use that coupon code as a way to help us all track what we're doing together. It helps them, it helps us, it helps everyone. So at our gold level, we have Box, Mongoose, and Pro Lids. At the silver level, we have Dan's Comp, LRC, and Pro Start. And at the bronze level, we have Command Aviation, Danger Snacks, Fly Racing, Gear Blocks, Justin Shepard Title Examiner, Lincoln Park BMX, Sign Dog Northwest, Sound Cedar Lumber, and Tasco. Once again, you can follow the links in our description to find out more about these phenomenal brands. You can find the coupon codes for some of them available there. And thank you so much to our 2025 sponsors. Now back to our episode. Episode 45, a guy named Rob Lane. Maybe you've heard of him, Redline Rob. Rob travels around the country with a Redline collection unlike no other, and he loves to showcase BMX, and some of his collection, you got to listen to the episode. Some of his collection has things that are not actually Redline, and it's because of the nostalgia and where they came from. But Rob is just such a phenomenal contributor to the sport of BMX. He has made a huge difference. He loves to showcase the bikes, the history, the heritage, the lineage of BMX, and be able to showcase what one brand did to have such a massive part in changing the world of BMX. And I just absolutely love that, because there are not a lot of people that are willing to go to bat and to be able to dive in, or have the desire to dive in and give so much credibility to a brand, and to have so many conversations, and to spend so many dollars on fuel, and to drive so many miles around the country just so that people can relive some of these moments and these memories, these bikes that they have memories with, these bikes, and meet some of the riders that rode these bikes, and to be able to have conversations with some of these people is just so cool. So Rob, thank you for your investment into the sport of BMX. Episode 40, or episode 27, with a guy named Adam Orovets. He's actually on our team, on the BMX Breakthrough team, and him and I talked about being new to BMX and what he loves about the sport of BMX as a dad and as a community member. But also, we had a conversation about what it looked like for him to invest in the track. He's got a Facebook page, or a Facebook group called BMX Basics. And then we also talked about some of the things that new families could benefit from knowing, should benefit from knowing, as they're coming into the track. So new families, new people, new riders coming in, and sometimes it gets really confusing, it gets really overwhelming, and it can be really stressful. And so being able to be a new voice, being able to put a bug in their ear of, here's the things to learn before you go, that's what we wanted to do. That's what Adam and I aimed to do through that episode. So that was really fun to do. Episode 32, mid school. Have you ever heard of a guy named John Purse? Went by the nickname the Jackal. And John Purse was such a fun guy to watch race. I had a jersey, a Redline jersey, to emulate John. I remember watching him at the Great Northwest National. I think it was 98 or 99. I wanted a Redline partly because of John Purse and Bubba Harris. Just looking at the way that he raced and he rode, and he also has red hair, so that didn't hurt too, because I found someone that I could relate to. But no, he was fun to talk to. He has done some really cool things. Some of his coaching clinics, some of the ways that he's trying to contribute to the sport is really fun to watch, fun to see. I'm grateful for the opportunity. One thing that we got to have a conversation about in that episode is about the John Purse action figure. And I'm still upset about this, but my friend, I'm going to call him out. His name was Kyle Burrows. His name is Kyle Burrows. Kyle convinced me to open up this action figure. I'd been saving it for a couple of years. I was in 4th grade, and it was the Flick Tricks action figure and the bike, and it was in a sealed blister pack. And Kyle convinced me to open this up, and ever since I've regretted it. Now I can't find it. I have no idea where it's at. I have searched high and low. We've moved multiple times. I have no idea where this is at. And it struggles me because Kyle's the one to blame. It definitely wasn't me. I definitely didn't make the decision on my own. It was Kyle's encouragement. So, that's frustrating in and of itself, but live and learn. Life goes on, I guess. Okay. Episode 40. A guy named Scotty Scamahorn. I don't know if you've heard of Scotty. He has a company. He's part of a company called Shire Built, and they build trails. They build pump tracks. They build mountain bike trails. He's been out and he's done some digging for riders at Red Bull Rampage. This guy is next level. He is a rider, if I've ever seen one. He loves BMX. He loves bikes in general. He's built parts for movie parts for Brandon Semenuk. And this guy loves being on his bike. And I don't know if I've met anyone that loves being on their bike quite as much as Scotty. And he and I grew up racing together. I feel terrible because I don't actually remember racing with him. But but he remembers me a little bit, and my dad remembers those times. But I will say that's one of the things that I feel the worst about. But anyway, Scotty is just so fun to talk to. The things that he's done, the trails that he's built, the love that he has for kids being on their bikes, and for the routes that are developed through the sport of BMX is super cool. So he's got some cool trails. Phenomenal trail builder, phenomenal rider, and just all around great human. All right. In episode 49, a guy named Carl Hinckley. Carl Hinckley is from the freestyle world, not racing, freestyle. And he has a compound in Nebraska called Nowhere. And it's Nowear. And Carl has set out to create this facility that is completely free to the community to ride. And hearing his stories is, man, it is heartbreaking in the best way. Like, I shouldn't say heartbreaking. Maybe it's like heart-wrenching. The amount of heart and soul that he has invested into this is so cool. I've heard people that have talked about the amazing person that Carl is and what he does for the community up there, for the BMX community. Carl shared some stories. They're not all firsthand. Some of them are secondhand. And listening to those stories warms my heart in so many ways. He told this story about this girl, and parents were having a difficult time being able to buy her a bike. And so he got a hold of Eastern and got them to donate a bike. And instead of just giving it to her, though, he asked the parents, he essentially was giving it to her. But instead of just giving it to her, he decided that what he was going to do is he was going to make her work for it. And I absolutely love that. And so, and when she comes in to ride, she empties the trash cans and she goes and asks, what can I do? How can I help today? And she's like under 10 years old. And for her to have this level of investment, this level of buy-in, but also see somebody who deeply cares about her and her riding progression is so cool. So Carl, thank you for what you're doing with these for these kids, the way that you are caring for them, the way that you are helping them to develop some of these skills, the opportunities that you're giving them by opening the doors of this facility. And man, I just think this is so cool. He's not making any money off of this. It's a big facility. It is a very expensive facility, and people have given blood, sweat, and tears and some money to make this happen. And so it's not something that that Carl's benefiting from. He's just getting to run the place and he's getting to ride there. And so I absolutely love what he's doing, and really cool to hear some of those stories. So next one that I want to talk about is an episode with Olivia Armstrong. And Olivia is so deeply invested in the younger rider community, the kids that she has. She loves coaching kids. She does some remote coaching with her riders. She does remote coaching with some parents that she coaches as well. I think she's great at communicating and being fairly direct with the parents. And when they need to back away, she'll have that conversation. And so she'll say, I think this is actually hindering your son or daughter. And I just love the way that she invests into the next level and into these riders. She's also done some clinics, and the reason I actually reached out to her, clinics is probably the wrong word, but one of the reasons that I reached out to her was that she was doing this Zoom call where she was teaching parents how to be better parents or better spectators for the sport of BMX. And that's something that I think is so incredibly valuable, being able to have those conversations, being able to tell those parents, look, you need to back up. Your rider wants to impress you. You know, there's all sorts of times there are kids that are just trying to make mom and dad proud. And then it's very easy as mom and dad to say some things that the kid doesn't feel like they can actually ever make you proud. And that's tough. That is unfortunate, because all our kids want, for the most part, is to make us proud. And so anyway, for someone like Olivia to come in and go, hey, I'm going to teach you when to back up. I'm going to teach you when to step back. I'm going to teach you when to stop talking. And absolutely love that opportunity for parents that she has created. So Olivia, thank you for that. There's an episode which is number 33, and there's a guy named Matt with the Nostalgic Neighborhood. The Nostalgic Neighborhood is all about old school BMX and skateboarding. And I know that there are many people listening to this that is their thing. That is their jam. That is where they connect, where they feel at home. And what Matt has done is super cool to see. I'm just so grateful for the effort that he's made. I think the quality of his videos is phenomenal. He has some bikes that he's put together. He has some interviews that he's done. He has events that he's gone to. He has some really cool trinkets in and around his office and his workspace and his house. And he's got some bikes that are cool. But Matt just loves skateboarding and riding BMX. And I just think it is so fun to hear somebody that has the breadth of knowledge in the sport and can come in the way that he can, and to talk about nostalgic skateboarding, vintage BMX, and basically just trying to hit on all the things that are nostalgic about childhood. So anyway, that's really fun. Episode 35, there's a guy named Paul DePaw. Paul is running 3 tracks. That's right, 3. And he's on year 30, I believe. At least year 30. It might be pushing its way into 31. Paul's a superhero. Man, this guy, he is a superhero of track operators. And I think he should be bragged about more. I think he should be recognized more. This guy has been around for a long time. He's running 3 tracks. He runs 2 indoor and 1 outdoor. One is in Iowa, one is in Rock Island, Illinois, and the other is in East Moline, Illinois. And so they run indoor concrete BMX racing. If you have not been, you should make it a priority. What is it? The first weekend, New Year's weekend of 2026, I will be there. You should put it on your calendar. There is nothing like this racing. I will say, there is nothing like indoor concrete BMX racing. I know that there are people that have raced indoor concrete and they love it and they think it's pretty cool. But what Paul is doing is so exciting because it makes racing more accessible. It doesn't have to be a big flashy track. It doesn't have to be a massive facility. You can rent a warehouse. You can put up some cones, put up some hay bales, put up a couple of bumps and jumps if you want to. You don't have to. Run a gate or run a rubber band start. You don't have to do anything special. Just have racing. The kids don't care about how intense the track is. They just want to ride their bike and race their bike. If we think about what we were like as kids, you could race anywhere. You could be riding down the sidewalk and you'd be right next to a friend and go, I'll race you to the stop sign. And that's exactly what you would do, is you would race. And that's what kids want. And this is an opportunity, a way that Paul has created more ability for BMX racing to happen. And I absolutely love it. Episode 38. A guy named Drew Polk. Have you heard of him? He's pretty phenomenal on a BMX bike. Anyway, Drew is a pro. He won a Rookie of the Year award from USA BMX. He is so fun to watch. And more than anything, what I love about Drew is that he is devoted to the kids, devoted to the young athletes that look at his riding and look up to him. And he will do whatever he can to connect with the kids. He will wait around for them. He will come back and find them. He'll sign autographs. He'll talk to them. He'll have conversation. And that's what kids want. Kids want attention. They want your time. They want investment. And I mean, parents know this. Kids aren't really interested in your money. They're not always interested in all the stuff and the things to do. What they want is your attention. They want that one-on-one time. And that's how they're created. And that's how we're all created. And the way that Drew does this is to be very intentional with his time, with his direction, with his attention. And he makes these kids feel so special. And I just think that's one of the coolest things about Drew. Okay, episode 43. A guy named Craig Kundig. Craig is responsible for a lot of BMX racing, or a lot of the way that BMX bikes behave and are designed, but he doesn't take a lot of credit for it. He had a company called RRS, and he was very good at ideation, and he was very good at execution, and by his own admission, he's not great at the business side. And so he had these ideas and he turned them into next level thoughts and next level parts. A couple examples of this is a cantilever brake on a BMX bike. Brake pads didn't have adjustment on the cantilevers, and so you couldn't have a sliding dropout. So instead of having a sliding dropout, he had a fixed rear dropout, and he had an eccentric bottom bracket, so you adjust the bottom bracket. Another thing that he did was 24-inch wheels. I mean, the majority of people don't race a cruiser with 26-inch wheels, right? They race a 24-inch wheel cruiser. It was Craig that said, hey, I've got this idea for a 24-inch wheel. It'll be less rotating weight. It'll be easier to get moving. What if we try that out? And it took off. He also created this bike that had a 16-inch rear wheel and a 20-inch front wheel. And people complained about it, but it was super cool looking. I believe there's a picture of Eddie Fiola on it, and people did not love that bike. Maybe that, is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But people didn't like that bike because it was so fast out of the gate. And so anyway, it looked a little goofy, but it was very fast out of the gate and really cool. And Craig has done more for the sport of BMX than a lot of people have, and than a lot of people realize. And so without the investment of Craig, maybe bikes would be where they are without them, without him, but that's really hard to say. It definitely would have taken longer because he was an innovator on so many levels, and still is, I believe. All right. A guy named Jeremy Bushnell, episode 48. Jeremy is at SeaTac BMX with Jamie Stinson. And Jeremy has been a part of the board there and has contributed in a lot of ways to the branding efforts of the SeaTac BMX track. And SeaTac has been there for a really long time. Jeremy took these ideas and he created a branding guide. He created consistency. He made sure that everything went together. But then he's on the board. He's also an announcer. He's making decisions that are better affecting the community of SeaTac and SeaTac BMX. He's also unique in the way that he works for I think it's called the Evergreen Trail Alliance. He's a trail builder for his 9 to 5. I don't know if those are actually his hours, but for his day job, that's what he is. And he has the opportunity to see these different riders and invite them to BMX and hear some perspectives on why they don't want to come over to the BMX side of things when they could ride trails. So it's a great one to listen to if you're kind of looking for what's the breakdown, what is the dichotomy there, and why are so many people disconnected from the sport of BMX, and why won't they come over for mountain bikes, so on and so forth. That is a great episode to listen to. Also, Jeremy's dad has been running a mobile bike shop called Bike Master for years in Northwest Washington, as just a staple of the Washington BMX community. In episode 51, I did an episode 2 weeks ago, last episode that was released, with a guy named Cash Matthews. Cash has more influence, I believe, on BMX than he'll give himself credit for, and than many people would give him credit for. He was the youngest track operator in BMX history, although when he did it, there was no title of track operator. He just wanted a place for him and his friends to race. So you'd hear that story, but he started this track because there wasn't anybody to run it. So him and some friends started buying trophies and started saying, hey, it's a couple dollars to race, and here, let's go. And And then he went to this meeting, and I can't actually remember what the meeting was called, but he went to this meeting where he asked, and they said at the end of it, they listened to his spiel, and he said, hey, I want you to take over this track because I'm 13 years old. I can't run this on my own. And they said, that's great. That's all well and good, but we're going to move on from our meeting. And at the end, they talked about helping the boy, being a friend of the boy. And he called them out, and he said, I am the boy. I'm asking you for help, and you're not helping me. I need your help. I want you to run this track. And they agreed to it for a year. That year turned into 19 years. Shawnee, Oklahoma quickly became, and a lot of Oklahoma quickly became, a hotspot of BMX. And there are rumors that the tracks in that area were part of the reason that Grands ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma City for a little while. But I don't know if BMX would be the same without Cash Matthews. He also tells a story about getting a bike restored to him, his childhood dream bike restored to him from a legendary motocross rider named Guy Cooper. And I just think that is so fun to listen to. All right, and last but not least, there's a guy named Jimmy Phillips. And Jimmy he did episode 39 with me. He is the manager for the SE BMX team. And Jimmy cares about kids and people, just people, on a whole nother level. Jimmy is a human that has a massive heart. Wants to give, wants to provide, wants to give back, wants to give opportunity, wants to do whatever he can. He wants to do whatever he can to help people experience something that is going to provide them with fulfillment and joy in their lives. And if you look at Jimmy's pits, the amount of time and effort and energy that he puts into setting those up, details to the nth degree. The amount of the smiles that his kids have on their faces when they're riding around and when they're in his pits, absolutely amazing. The unity, the quality, the level that is brought to the team is amazing. What Jimmy Phillips is doing for the BMX community is something that I believe will be talked about for a very long time. Jimmy is a solid human, and he has created an amazing place for these kids to ride. So anyway, Jimmy, thank you so much. All of these episodes, all of these conversations are conversations that I have looked forward to throughout this last year. And I've gotten to have these conversations and absolutely loved every one of them. And I mean, it's hard for me to pick favorites. I mean, right now, I really like the conversation with Carmen Drummond. I'm working side by side with her, and that is in episode 46, working side by side with her to create a BMX team for my kids' school. So we're having a great time with that. And I just love it because of the number, the sheer quantity and the quality of students that are learning about BMX as a result of Carmen's investment in the sport. So that's amazing. But I don't have favorites. I enjoy all these conversations equally. I think that BMX is a sport that has the potential to change people's lives. And I talk about that in the episode is my life, my kids' lives, and the uniqueness of being able to go to a different city and meet someone and talk about BMX and go, hey, you rode BMX? I rode BMX, or I ride BMX, and you ride BMX. Wow, we have a lot in common just because of a 20-inch wheel bicycle that was created for kids, and as adults, we are racing around on. Man, I appreciate your support. I'm so thankful for the support of our sponsors. I have so much gratitude, an unreasonable amount of gratitude. And I could not have done this without you. I could not have done this without the support. Constantly people listening and looking at the statistics and the numbers and the encouragement that people have gotten from these conversations has been really cool. So sincerely, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of BMX. If you're interested in how to support what we're doing, or if you're interested in how to support your local track, or if you're interested in starting a BMX team for your kid's school or a homeschool league or whatever the case may be, reach out because I would love to talk to you. My email is j@bmxbreakthrough.com. You can subscribe here, and I know I say this at the very end, but all ways that you can get a hold of me. You can follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, and you can get a hold of us. And anyway, I'm so thankful for your support. Thank you for believing in what we're doing. Thank you for encouraging us as we go. We do have some merch. If you are interested in a hat, let me know because we'll figure out how to either ship you one or get you one when we are at an event. So coming up, actually, we'll be at the USA BMX Hall of Fame, and we'll be at the Vintage BMX race. So have some hats available there, but you can also reach out and we can figure out how to get you a hat. There are a bunch of hats that are up in Northwest Washington as well with my dad, and super excited. If I don't see you before and you're going to be around Grands in Tulsa, let me know. I would love to connect with you then. And once again, thank you for the support. Have an incredible day or night or whenever it is that you are listening, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us in today's episode. It is because of people like you and our sponsors who make this whole thing possible because they have a desire to see the sport grow. If you would like to get involved in the mission of BMX Breakthrough, you can start by going to your local track, find a way to volunteer, help out, and serve there. Or you can go to our website, bmxbreakthrough.com, in order to donate, find out about sponsorship, or learn more.